Every time you say something is boring, it turns out to be the coolest thing. I'm like, no, I want to learn way more about super flat floors. I didn't even know there was a thing 10 seconds ago, and now I want to know everything about them.
Welcome to the Automotive Advantage. Grow your business and get smarter in just 1 hour.
All right.
I'm in.
We're live.
All right, we're back at Automotive Advantage. Justin, the city of Pontiac is alive. We've got roadkill nights here this weekend. The precursor to the Woodward Dream Cruise. We've been hyping this up. They prep the street. They go street racing, and Hot Rod brings a whole bunch of people in here. So arguably the most important person in the entire automotive industry is sitting across from us right now, the guy that makes this entire event possible. Welcome to the Automotive Advantage, Kurt Johnson from Total Venue Concepts. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me here. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun weekend.
What is Roadkill Nights, just so people understand what you have to do to make this event happen? Do you want to frame it up like that?
Sure. Roadkill is just simply taking a city street and making it into a drag strip with crash barricades, prepped racetrack, safety crews, everything you'd have at a drag strip to make it safe. We do it out on the street here.
That sounds really easy. Street racers do that all the time, right, Justin? What's the big deal?
I mean, street racers are pretty good at track prep now, street prep now.
They are. They spray their frickin' tires.
So that sounds like a super niche skill within the entire automotive industry. You are largely known as the most talented person on the face of the planet at preparing the starting line for a drag strip or a drag strip-like event. How in the heck did you come up with this skill set?
We do have a lot of records, pretty much all of them. But the way we got it is I've messed everything up over the years. I mean, that's what it comes to. I've ran quite a few different drag strips and I've made the mistakes. And so my goal in this business was to save other people from making those mistakes. And when I started quite a while ago at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And you couldn't just go out and buy equipment. Nobody made it. And so we had to kind of figure out how to make the equipment. I'm sure you guys know who Larry Crisp is from Vandermeer Speedway out in Denver. Larry's really the godfather of all this. He started making equipment. I saw that opportunity and I started making equipment. There were things, he makes incredibly good equipment. But I was trying to make it a little bit more accountant friendly. And something that we could sell somewhat more mass, and it took off. And here we are.
Total Venue Concepts, just to frame it up, you're a huge service provider. You go to every track in the world, and then in addition, you sell a lot of equipment. What's the scale of that? How many tracks, how much equipment, how big of an operation is this?
We've got about 340 customers around the world. We've sold well over 3,700 pieces of equipment. We've ground 118 tracks, something like that, doing profile grinding, making them flat. We've built 5 racetracks. The scope just kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Give me the list of what goes into building. When you just said I build 5 racetracks, dude. You don't just. What does that mean? What are we talking about?
What we typically do is I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. We'll go in and we'll vet contractors. We'll vet architects. We work for the track owner and go in and find the right company to draw it and design it. Find the right paving company to actually pave the drag strip itself and the shutdown, the pits. And we can do everything from helping them put the fences up around the place to just working in between the walls. We also go in and we revitalize drag strips. The ground moves on these. That's all there is to it. Concrete's flexible. You don't think it is, but it is. Asphalt's extremely flexible. And as the ground moves, these things become uneven. It's hard to get a car down it, and we'll go in and flatten it. And we've created tools to help us do that and processes to make it happen where it's repeatable.
I want to back way, way up here. I think a lot of people are just like, what are they even talking about? So explain to me from the beginning, kind of like where drag racing sort of started. Maybe people listening to this are like, I've heard of a drag strip, but I don't even know why there would be machines involved. So start me there, work me up to like kind of the rudimentary, and then let's work through this.
So if we're going that direction, we're going to go quite a ways back into the late 70s, early 80s. Literally, there was almost no prep. I mean, it was kind of like the no prep scene that we have going on now. They had a static drag on a little old tractor, and I'm talking NHRA, because NHRA has always been at the forefront of anything drag racing, in my opinion, whether it's from the safety standpoint or from the track prep standpoint. And literally back in the day, they used Coke syrup from Coca-Cola. It was sticky. It seemed to work. It kind of turned slimy after a while, but they had a group of guys that figured out how to make it work. Used old tractors with what we call flat drag, a static drag, where no tires are moving on it. It's just pulling belts, or actually automotive tires hung underneath the thing to help put rubber down. So we've got a contact area. They primarily relied on the race cars for making the racetrack. They would put Coke syrup, and then that turned PJ Harvey owned VHT, the paint company back then. He actually used byproducts from making paint to make something that was sticky, and it would attract even more rubber. We still didn't have equipment to really put rubber down yet. The top fuel cars and all the cars running down, by the second day of the event, they had a pretty good racetrack. And by the end of the event, they had a great racetrack. But next week, the racetrack's going to suck because it's old, brittle rubber. They didn't know how to scrape it off or anything. So as you went through the 80s and the 90s, technology started coming along for scraping, which was hand scraping with a torch in front of it. It'd take 3 days to scrape a racetrack and 12 people. So a lot of money, really labor intensive. And then it really didn't move much until the mid 2000s. And Larry Crisp came up with the rotator, which is a set of fuel tires rotating backwards on a machine hung on the back of a tractor. And it lays rubber down, and it's also kind of like kneading bread. The rubber is a dough, and believe it or not, rubber is kind of alive. It's stretching, it's contracting, and I don't want to bore everybody with all the stupid details, but basically the rotator comes in and it kneads that bread in, and we're putting traction compound down on it, and you're blending it down into the actual rubber that's there, and you're making it more flexible. And that's all we do, is we try to make a flexible surface that doesn't get too flexible. That's when everybody calls it greasy. You know, it's gotten too flexible. And so we just came in, we started building equipment that made this easier, quicker, faster. It used to take 4 days, 12 people to scrape a racetrack. We have machines now that I can scrape with you helping me and never doing it before. We can scrape a whole 1/8 mile in 5 hours, with very little money. So I just try to make the processes quicker, easier, and when I say easier, we all know, especially drag strips, circle tracks, they're no different than any other business. Employees are the key. And when you're telling this guy to go out in 100-degree heat with a hand scraper and a torch to do work, you're not going to keep him very long. So by making things easier and less taxing on the employee, you're going to keep that employee longer.
I mean, theoretically, to someone who goes to a drag strip for the first time, track scraper guy looks like the worst job on planet Earth, right? It's hot, scraping. Everyone's now, there's downtime, so it's rushed, but it's important. And then the racers are complaining it's too greasy. So like, what even attracted you to this idea of doing that in the first place?
I don't know, a little bit of sadomasochism, but I mean, it goes back to running racetracks. I enjoyed running racetracks. I ran Indy for quite a while, and then I went to work for Bill Bader at Norwalk, and that was kind of like going back to college, because there's nobody better than him. But the attraction was just running the racetracks. I enjoyed it, and this was just a byproduct of that, because you got to have good track prep. If you want the good cars to come in, you need to be the fastest track around. That's all there is to it. And by elevating the process of track prep along the way, we've just kept making the cars faster and faster and faster. And when they can hook on it, you've got a pro line or somebody that'll come along going, well, we can make more power, and they go quicker, and then we need to do something different because we can't get enough traction anymore, and we figure it out. That's how it all came about.
I want to explore running the tracks and your expertise, and a lot of this, what we're going to talk about, is something we tried to do at the High Performance Expo you were going to come in and run a training session specific for track operators and track owners. It was super generous, tough to do in the first week of June. So we're going to figure that out. But
Yep.
I can't wait to hear your insights in what's a great run drag strip, or I know you do a lot of stuff with circle track folks now, but what's a poorly run track? What are obvious things that people can do to fix? Like, start walking through what Kurt Johnson knows on how to run a great track.
Horribly run is the easiest. That's low-hanging fruit. We can come up with a lot of things, but I mean, it starts at the front gate. It starts at pulling in the gate. Does it take me 45 minutes to get parked? Is there anybody helping me get in at a larger event? It's all customer service and making it easy for that person to come in, because our customers changed. You guys know that, and I think the people watching this know that. But it used to be, the mindset was, I'm going to a drag race. I'm going to be there from 7 o'clock in the morning till whenever it quits in the morning. And today's customer won't do that. They are not going to come. They are here for 4 to 5 hours tops. When we get past that 5-hour mark, and I'll use a quick example. I don't know if you guys followed Night Under Fire. That was last week. It's one of the biggest drag races there is at Norwalk, and it is scripted to the minute. 11 o'clock, we're supposed to be done. And we had the third round from hell. Oil down after oil down after oil down. We didn't really finish until 1:30 because we had just literally oil down after oil. The place was empty. I mean, everybody went home. Bill ended up shooting the fireworks off so that he could give them part of what they came for before they left. Because he really is about customer service. But it all starts at the gate on the way in. On a well-run track, you're let in, you're parked within 10 minutes and out of your car walking up. When you get to the gate, it should be a friendly experience of transacting, whether you did it online or whatever. What I hate is, and they're still out there today, when you walk up and there's a lady with a cigarette hanging out, she's wearing a braless wife beater, and she's flopping you out a ticket. I'm not kidding. I saw that just a few weeks ago. And so it's still out there, but those are the things I don't like. As you come in, the place should be spotless. Another huge thing on my list is clean bathrooms. If we can't get mom or the wife to come, good chance you're not coming. So women aren't going to go to a nasty porta potty type deal. You need to have good, clean bathrooms. And I think you see the tracks over time, they've started embracing that. Not really even getting into the competitor side, because competitors will come. The racers are going to come. You offer a good purse and a good track, they're coming. Let's work on getting people in the stands, because that's where the money's made. Anybody that really runs a track off a pure back gate, they're not running a very successful racetrack. And you got to have crowds in those stands. And it's getting harder and harder to get them in. We got to change the format of our shows, because we only got that 3 to 5 hour window. That's all we're going to get. And it's getting shorter and shorter because of these things. And a lot of the things you guys talk about, the shorts on the reels and so forth and social media, that's training us to have a short attention span. And so we got to build our events to it. And it should be really no different than a football game or a basketball game.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear, because, drag racing for a decade or two there was really just, you had to love it so much that you were willing to overlook every bad thing about it, and you would defend it like, well, it's fine. I don't mind going to the bathroom in a trough. It's cool. That's like a throwback thing, and it's like, it's just so nice that people are saying like, okay, this is about the fans. And I do want to ask you about that, because like, there's a balance, right? The track has to be good. Radio prep takes forever. What are you supposed to do in the meantime? You want the racers to be happy, but to your point, if there aren't fans, just as a sport, it can't continue, right? So that fan experience is absolutely critical. We've been to 2 trillion bad tracks, and eventually you just get numb to it, but then you're like, oh, you want to go with me? No, let's wait for Norwalk. Let's wait for, I'm going to pick the track. As opposed to just bringing you to the local one, because I don't want your first experience to be that experience,
And you hit on a really good point. Radial racing is some of the most, in my opinion, some of the most exciting racing there is. The track prep is devastating. So if you look at I would say, leaders in the industry. You take Don Long and the Proline group and everybody that puts No Mercy together. Raul, the owner down there now, and we bring in a ton of equipment to that. And if you ever watch it, you see the train going down because you still need all these. You still need all this attention on the track, but nobody wants to sit and watch that stuff all day. I mean, our tractors are one of the most hated things that are seen out there. So the only way I knew how to fix it, they came and they said, how are we going to fix this? The only way you can do it is throw equipment at it. And so, I mean, there's a lot of times we got 8 tractors in there and literally just run a train down the track going each direction. And we've cut the time by easily a third or 2/3, sorry. And that's, I think promoters need to look at that and think about the time that when you have one tractor that's taken 25 minutes to prep a racetrack, and it's more interesting watching guys play craps up by the starting line than watching those tractors, because there's no, I've thought about lots of ways to make it kind of entertaining, and there's just no way to do it. So the only way you can do it is throw equipment at it.
Yeah, you can only eat so many world famous chicken wings before you just can't handle it anymore. That's about the extent of that for me.
2 trips for you, that's about it.
It's about 1. Then I can get an ice cream trip in, and then I gotta head on out of there at some point.
And you're kind of over.
Yeah.
Kurt, how many drag strips are in the United States? What percentage of them are good in your opinion? And how much does a premium drag strip bring in annually in revenue?
Tough questions. So there's about 240 sanctioned tracks in the United States. There's about 80 more unsanctioned. I don't want to offend people here, but it's going to happen. Most of the unsanctioned tracks, I wouldn't race at. I'm not saying I won't go to a track with Armco, because there's a right way to do Armco and there's a wrong way. But if you see our vehicles out on a track, the Armcos go in the right direction. I'm not going to work a track that I don't feel is safe, and we just won't go there. I have one of my big things is I'm not trading morals for money, ever, and I think you have to stick to that. So somewhat we can write 80 of them off right there. Because if you can't put a car down it safely, then to me, what's the rest of it matter? So let's just go off, say, the 230 side. There's 100 really good drag strips out there. There really is. And where you got clean concession stands, good entry, good egress, the drag strip's acceptable. There's a good 100 of them. But then there's probably 50 what I'd call exceptional, and where you're happy to take mom to. And out of that, there's probably another 40 that I'd call grade A, their best. And then when it really comes to, there's probably 5 drag strips that are amazing.
Cool.
I hope that answers your question. And
what do the top 5 tracks make in a year? Give the listeners an idea of how much money we're talking.
15 million, somewhere around there. And that's make. That's top line numbers.
Yeah.
Take home, the margins are thin. They're really thin. Probably take a track that's grossing 15, you're probably putting 2.2 away, somewhere around there. I mean, that's not a good margin. The expenses are unreal. The farther west you get, the harder it gets. A lot of it's because of regulatories. Wage is a big piece of it, but the regulatory side of it is a huge piece of it. And I'm gonna kind of pick on Sonoma, and I hope I don't offend people, or Pomona, either one. It's easily double to do a race at that place because of the regulatory needs. You've got to have X amount of security guards. Security guards are making, I mean, they're police, so they're probably making $70, $80 an hour there. It's very difficult to put a race package together that you can make any money on in California. It's very difficult. The regulatory system has just written it out of the market. Oregon, Seattle, they're following right behind. Arizona's not far behind it. Vegas is still, or I should say Nevada, is still easier, but it's getting more and more expensive. It's kind of moving this way. The farther south you get, the cheaper it is to race and to make money. Plus you got the weather down there. I've always said that if I could buy a track in the country, it'd be Bradenton. And I think it's one of the best locations there is, except for the, obviously the encroachment that's beginning. But somewhere down in Florida where you can race all year. I think that's important. Norwalk's probably the nicest track in the country. They've just got such a short window because of the Ohio winter. 131, beautiful racetrack over in Michigan, top of the line. Same problem. They've only got a few months to race. So,
yeah, I mean, if drag strips didn't exist and you business cased one out, everyone would think you were totally insane, especially up here, right? It's just like, listen, we're going to be open 4 months out of the year. It's going to rain basically every weekend. We're going to try to put a bunch of people in here and sell them hot dogs at 5 cents over our cost. And hopefully nothing goes wrong the entire time we're doing it. We might make $50. Like it's such a hard business, right?
It is. And it's obviously it's the people that keep their parks amazingly nice and that have some marketing savvy, because sponsors are such a huge part of your total revenue stream. And not just going to PRI and hoping you get what you get, actually going, turning over boxes and trying to get the big box stores in, trying to get the insurance companies in, the people that have real money to spend on it. I'm not saying the aftermarket doesn't, but everybody hits the same companies. So they only have so much that can go around. So it's the people that can, one of the biggest sponsorships I've seen in the past 10 years was from a labor company. And that was a large six-figure multi-year deal. I think people just somewhat don't think outside the box. They think the exact same things. And it's, you hit on a key point, a lot of these are mom and pops. And they're working for a 10%, 20% margin on a hot dog. They got to get the track scraped, got to get the grass mowed, they got to do all that. Oh, and you want me to go get State Farm to you want me to write a white paper for these guys? I don't have time for it. But they really need to step back and go, I need to make time for this, because this is the only way that I'm going to increase my revenue stream. So I think trying to help educate people how to do that and where to do it, I think that's a huge part. And that was part of what I really liked about the HPX idea is you could, we do a lot of track prep seminars, but why not branch that out to where you also have marketing people there and you break it apart to where marketing guy doesn't need to hear what's going on in track prep. Let's get them over to marketing and sales. Let's get the operations team over to learn about cheaper ways to mow the grass, things like that. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future to help educate the racetracks.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out a way to make Kurt more available to track operators when they have time. It's at night. It's probably a virtual experience so that we can get them connected better.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying that, you think about a football stadium, for example. Like the people that are running the football stadium or the parking or whatever are not the people in charge of the grass and are not the people general managing the team and are not the people driving the bus. But at a drag strip, we expect 5 people to do all of that. And then we wonder, like, how come we're not advancing as an industry, right? So, like, if you were starting from maybe ground zero, or if you came into a track that was like, hey, we are here now, we're mom and pop, we have 4 people that have been here for 20 years, we're not really making much money, but we have a good name, we're in a kind of semi-good area. Like, where do you start with them? Do you start with track prep? Do you start with marketing? Like, what would be your kind of stepping stone for a track?
For me, it'd be operations first. The parking, the grass. You want the place to look manicured. You want it to be easy to get in and out of. So that's literally where I'd start. The track can work itself for a while, but let's work on making the place look nice. Let's get a coat of paint on the place. Let's make sure you're not getting splinters in your butt when you sit down on a wooden grandstand. So operations is where I would start. And a lot of these mom and pops, it's difficult to do because of the unknown, but you got to scale. And you got to, if you want to be big, you got to think big. And that takes people. Maybe not full time, but you look at a place like Norwalk, there's 12 or 13 full-time people, and there's probably another 13, mainly in lawn care, that are seasonal throughout the year that are full-time. They lay off in the wintertime, but that's what it takes to do an operation like that. Dallas is scaled up that way, Las Vegas. Cecil is a great, Jim takes really good care of that place. I think if some of these people look at some of the other tracks and actually go visit them, I was impressed because I've seen Raul from South Georgia at like eight events over the last few weeks. He's just going to events and he's just sucking knowledge in. I think more people need to do that, or we need to figure out a good way to take it to them.
I want to just ask your general feel for drag racing. Is the sport up, down? Where are we headed in the next 2 years? What's your index on drag racing right now?
I think we're a little down right now in the professional ranks. I think our bracket programs are stronger than ever. Bracket racing's big right now, and it's running really, really strong. I don't really follow No Prep. I know that it's kind of gone through a little bit of a recession right now, because I see a lot of them out running pro mods. That just kind of tells me they don't have any place to run on the No Prep. But I'm by no means a No Prep expert, so I probably shouldn't even speak on it. But I do know the professional side, and we are a little bit down right now. IHRA's come into play, and somewhat they've splintered things a bit. So I think you're going to see shorter cars. A lot of the cars that would be the second half of the NHRA field right now can go over and win a race at IHRA, and so they could go win 50 grand, where for the most part their first or second round fodder at the other place. That's probably not a good way to put it, but they're probably not going to make it past second round. Competition's so stout over there on the NHRA side. I think IHRA is doing some things really right there. I don't think they want the fast cars. And I'm not sure that's not a bad business model either, because a lot of people that are going to come watch, they don't really care. We don't have John Force right now, or probably ever will. The stars have their place at NHRA, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the IHRA model right now kind of makes sense if you can have Foley come over and crush it over there. He could be a superstar. If you think back to the old IHRA days, Clay Milliken and Doug Herbert, they ruled the world. And they were superstars over there. They probably couldn't go past second round at NHRA. But they ruled that world. And I think the guy that's putting the IHRA together, right now the business model's not really working because they're not getting people in the stands for the amount of money that's being spent. But I think he's got a commitment in his mind for how long he's going to run. And I do think it will come. They're getting rave reviews from the sportsman racers. But as a whole, the question was, where are we at on drag racing? And in the professional ranks, we're in a little bit of a lull. I'm kind of comparing it to about 1978. Seriously, when I think you're going to see NHRA possibly come in with some 8-car fields here and there. Good things NHRA is doing. I think you're going to see them start bringing some other tracks in. I'm pretty sure that's happening quickly. Might be a couple to go away too. But I definitely think you're going to see some new blood come in there. It sounds like there's quite a few, at least in that world. There's 5 or 6 new professional cars coming in. That'll really help. Pro mod stronger than ever, which is good and bad. There are so many pro mod races that when you hear about a pro mod race, it's like, I went to one last week too. But you got guys like Wes Buck, he's changing the game. It's not just a pro mod race anymore. It's a happening. And so I think you're going to see a lot more with that. And that's probably going to build that category of Pro Mod, and I think that might even become its own organization with underlying levels as well. So I think you'll see good things there. But right now we're in a lull, and I think it's going to come back around. There might be a few tracks not on the map when this all gets done. And that's unfortunate. We can't lose any more tracks, but I think we'll see a few more go out. It's just a tough business.
The ebb and flow of coolness is always interesting to me. Like, it was Outlaw 10.5, and then it swung the other way, and then it was Pro Mod, and then it was no prep, and like...
Now we're back to 10.5.
And now we're back to 10.5, right? And like, it's just so funny to watch, and you wonder, like, as one class gets smaller, normally another class is getting bigger, so it's kind of the same pool of things. But what do you see? You're saying 10.5s now. What do you see maybe next up if someone's kind of watching these trends go in and out?
I think more slick classes and a little bit less radial classes. Radial's so expensive to do. I mean, for example, in Las Vegas, the Streetcar Super Nationals, that's probably the biggest scaled race I do. We'll use 22 drums of glue for that weekend. Lights out's at least 15 to 18. That's a lot of money in just glue.
How much per barrel?
$1,300 a barrel. $1,350. So it's a ton of cash going out the door in glue. Plus time and track prep. I mean, our bill is $35,000 at one of those events. So there's a lot of money. I think you're going to see more and more slick classes come back. There is and you guys both know this, there are a lot of low 4-second radial cars mothballed. Not running at all right now. I mean, with NMCA and MRA, that definitely left a mark on the market. I think there's a lot of cars sitting. It'd be very easy to put slicks on those cars and go back to that 410, 440 range, and where people can afford to do it. There's so many. I mean, I did a no-time race, and it doesn't matter who. A few weeks ago, we're going mid 350s on 275s. That's just cubic dollars. And so let's step back. Let's get on some slicks. I think Tyler's doing a great job with the Pro Street class, and then he has Super Street with PDRA. Both slick classes. Those are all pretty much all radial cars that are on slicks now, and you're seeing those grow and grow and grow. I see a lot of the Friday night, once a month programs adding more and more slicks, so we can back off on this prep a little bit. And with a rubber track, I mean, obviously a fuel car and any of those slick cars, really what they want is very little glue and a lot of rubber. Good, fresh rubber. And that's pretty cheap.
I can see him doing his custom prep in his mind for per class. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
The prep has become so technical. It's silly. A lot of people think it's kind of witchcraft. It's really not. We have a plan for it all, and there is a process for doing each one of them, and how we're going to do it, how we're going to organize the cars, because it's all about run order. And that's kind of where we've made our niche. Is a lot of people think it's all about track prep, but first thing we do is we go in and we scribble around on the run order and go, this is what we need, and we can make it go fast all the way through. Run order is a big piece of it.
I mean, track prep used to be witchcraft for sure. It felt like anyway. I remember early LSX days, early radial days too. It was just like the track was either good or bad, and now the sun's in the wrong spot, and now is there a breeze? It's just everything.
Spray and pray.
Yeah. Kurt, one of your other services of Total Venue Concept, you're a consultant to Tony Stewart. Yes. and other teams, I think, but just exclusive to Tony Stewart. Talk about that relationship. Talk about Tony Stewart Racing as a drag racer. That's relatively new. And where's that team headed?
That team's heading to the moon. I mean, that's a young team on both sides. I think you're going to see really, really good things come out of it. When Leah was still in the car, it came down to the final run of the final race on whether Doug won the championship or we won the championship. We came up short in that race, and Doug won it. But so we put Leah in contention in that year, Tony is still leading this year in points. Neil Strasbaugh and Mike Domagala and the whole crew, I shouldn't just say that, they kind of shifted gears this year and went a different direction, and obviously it's worked because we win on slick tracks. They can manage the power and get the car down and put it in the winner's circle. To a point, it's kind of all testing until Indy, and we're at Indy. 2 weeks from now, we're at Indy, so it gets real and we're going into the countdown. But I think both cars are in high contention. We may not be the fastest out there, but I think when you look at consistency and batting order, or batting average, we are definitely in the leader group. Doesn't mean that we may not be odds up the leader. And then as a driver, Tony Stewart is, I've seen a lot of guys. I've never seen somebody take to a car like he did. That guy, I don't care what he's in. He can be on a bicycle, being pulled behind an airplane, he'll make it go right. He just has a natural feel for the car. And Matt's a bull. Matt has good lights, but he also stays so far ahead of that funny car. Matt is a good driver. He is just flat a good driver. You got Mike Knutson tuning that now, and he's young. He's been with that team, I think, 15 years. Probably shouldn't quote me on that, but a long time. Both him and Alex Conway. Dickie went to a different team to try something different this year, but they brought Phil Schuler on. And I don't know if you ever dealt with Phil, but Phil is a whole different depth of knowledge. So I think you're going to see really good things come out of that. And obviously I want to win a championship in both cars, but, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to work with them. Going in and having them allow me to try to figure out what traction is, because the more we work on this, the more we realize we don't have a clue what we're looking at. Really don't. But they allow me to build different tools, and some work, some don't. But we are really getting a more scientific knowledge of what a racetrack's about. We're learning things that would bore your viewers to death. But in my world, it's kind of like going to the moon, because we've truly figured out what we think traction is and what controls it. And it's nothing that you would ever think about.
Bore me.
Rubber stretches. And this is, when you hear greasy, there's two types of greasy. There's too much product greasy, and then there's NHRA has done, and I'm going with NHRA has done a phenomenal job the last 2 years prepping track. So what is happening is the rubber stretches. And there's some of that I really don't even want to talk about, because we've figured some things out, but it is all about rubber stretch. There's cars that you can pull up behind, like if I measure straight behind this X car, they kill the track for 5 minutes because they have so much wheel speed. And so if you go in their same tire path right after them, you're going to have issues. And so move the car around a bit, find the right path. But that's kind of how we discovered that, was finding low readings behind certain cars and then realizing what was happening. So it's all about rubber stretch. And now the traction compound guys are going, kind of scratching their head, and they're going, so it's stretching the rubber. So all we have to do is make it not stretch as much. That sounds easy, but then you get cold and the rubber doesn't stretch enough and it gets hard. So I think you're going to see in the near future additives for traction compound that happen quickly, that work quickly, and they go away quickly. So that, say, when we get to Pomona and it gets too cold on that night run where somebody could run a 50 out here if they could get a hold of it. The track's just too cold to get a hold of. So there's some chemicals that we could put in it that would allow it to stretch and be flexible, and you could see those 350s come up. The barriers are, there's always a way around a barrier. And I heard, and I think he's probably right, Brian Lone said that 343 won't be beat for quite a while. Brittany went 343 at the last race. That's so fast. And I agree with him on that. But I think as far as the ETs, I think you're going to see these things just shatter over the next few years.
For people that may not understand exactly how fast and how quickly things are happening here. Like, give me an idea of how hyper-focused you are on some of these data points. Like 60 feet, right? To a normal person is from here to there, that's not very far. To you, it's probably 20 trillion data points of rubber stretch and all of these things. Like, explain to someone at home who's just like, dude, I didn't know it got this crazy. I didn't know we were doing that now. What are we talking about here?
So when a top fuel car leaves, and it is spinning the tires. You can't see it, but it is. Even on a perfect pass, it's spinning the tires. Some crew chiefs want those tires to spin faster, some don't. And really 0 or negative 11 or negative 25, whether it's a funny car or a fuel car, there's not a lot of data in that to 40 feet because we're running on primary out to there. It's just on the weight of the clutch. There's not a lot you can do with it. So we take a couple data points there. It's from there out where things get kind of interesting because the clutch is continuously engaging. And we're trying to find out, literally if we could lock the clutch up at 40 foot, we would. And there are places where you'd be surprised how quick the clutch is locking up. But 11,000 horsepower is a lot of horsepower. So to your root question, we probably sample 150 data points out to 250 feet. From 250 feet to 330, probably another 20 data points, somewhere around there. Once you get to 330, there's not much you can do with it unless you're hot or there was an oil down or something like that. But pretty much from 330 out, they're all in. And so we don't need a lot of data down there. But that 40 foot to 250 area, it's critical.
And that's happening how quickly?
If I could have 10 people out there, we would have each person taking 6 samples. I mean, for the most part, because of money, it's just me and one other guy. And on each team, Force actually has probably the most people out on the track right now. I think they got 6 people at one time. And each one of those is for their own team. And I don't want to speak for Force. I am not by any means, but they have to be comparing notes. I think it'd be crazy not to. So basically we got 2 people out trying to make those data points. So the other thing is building equipment that we can take a lot of data points really quick. And lightweight, it's kind of silly what we put into these things, trying to make it light, quick, portable, so that we can move and staying in shape. I'm getting kind of too old for this stuff.
It's wild.
Yeah, I want to ask some business questions for our business-minded folks that are listening. Like, what's a budget on a top fuel funny car and top fuel drags right now? What do these things cost? Just give them an idea. Yeah.
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask about that, but I think it's about $7 million a year to run a competitive car. Yeah, I think that's probably a good number.
And I'm gonna ask your contract with Tony Stewart Racing. How's it structured? And answer it for people that would like to be consultants to the motorsports. Maybe that helps you frame it up for someone else looking to do this kind of work.
I'm per race. We really don't even have a contract anymore. We had one to start, but we really don't anymore. I just do a day pay rate, about $700 per day, plus expenses, and then we have another deal for developing time-wise, for time put in on developing new equipment, and that's just an hourly rate. And that's basically our deal. It's a handshake deal from here out. We just never renewed the contract because I'm happy being there. I think they're happy with me being there. So handshake's good enough for me, and I trust them, and I think they trust me.
That's a good. I want to know if he's available for street racers or if it's an exclusive deal with Tony. So are you available to a big money street?
It's only around NHRA.
I mean, I think as we've been kind of blowing through a lot of topics, one thing that we've Like when you name Tony's team, most people think, oh, Tony Stewart, Leah, crew chief, team made. But no, there's clutch guy, there's you, there's right. And for someone sitting at home that's like, I like cars, I would love to get into that world. Explain to them like how big a team is, how big the universe is, how many nerdy, you can just like rubber, right? And make a whole career out of it. You can just like aero and make a whole career out of it. So dive into that a little bit.
Well, the first thing is for the youth that might be watching this, get a CDL. Get a CDL, even if, if you're not 21, you can't really drive a truck across straight lines, but you can get a CDL at 18. Get it. It's your ticket in. If you have a CDL and a good attitude, you can get on Top Fuel Team. They can teach you the rest. They'd rather teach you the rest because they can teach you their way. But it's all about attitude and if you can get along. Remember, they all live together for 21 to 23 races a year. And so that element of everybody getting along doesn't mean that they're all buddy. And I'm a little different because I'm a consultant. I fly in, I fly out, and I'm gone. They're with each other all week at every race. So personality is probably just as big as skill. You don't see a lot of guys that stay in it that are asses. That's everybody gets along pretty well. It doesn't mean they go hang out with each other at night, every single night, but for the most part, it's family. Math is pretty critical. There's a lot of math that's done in these days, so stay sharp on the math side. It's not that hard to get on a Top Fuel Team if you have a CDL. It's a little bit harder to stay on one. But as you said, there's lots of other directions, aero. And I think the other thing that would really help is having access to Indianapolis and Brownsburg. I think you need to be there. It's really where almost all of it happens. But say you got some kid that's interested in aero, he should be at Aerodyne. And all of these companies don't have enough employees because I know how long it takes to get an injector. It takes a long time when you knock an injector off you. And those guys at Aerodyne are working, I think they're working a couple shifts. So if you had somebody that's interested in aero, there's no reason they can't get a job out there. And if they can't there, they sure could in Mooresville. Because we haven't even touched on NASCAR yet. And I do quite a bit with NASCAR as well. And it's big business. In lots of different industries, lots of different disciplines to be in.
We hear this a lot that no one can find anyone. It's just like there's so many jobs available. Everyone we talk to is like, I wish I could find 10 more good people, 20 more good people. And then we talk to people and they're like, I can't find a job to save my life. I've been applying to jobs forever. Like, what do you think the breakdown is? If someone's like, I want to do this, I've tried, I'm hearing it's easy to go to a team. Is it just like, go to the track? Is it just like keep calling them? What is the breakdown here?
I'm pretty known for being pretty transparent and saying it like it is. The person that tells me they can't find a job, they're not trying. Because the jobs are there. If you go out and you make it happen, you can. And once again, it's all about personality. You got to show them that you want it. They got to believe you. You guys are no different than I am. You can see through bullshit quicker than... And I see a lot of people come up and they want the job. I don't want somebody that wants the job. I want somebody that needs it. And that, and here they need it. And you can read that quickly and you can't make that up. You can't learn that skill. It's there or it's not.
Yeah. I also see a lot of people now that want the job, but actually want to be Tony Stewart. And they're like, I got 2 years before I'm Tony, right? It's like, no, you have a lifetime before you're Tony, right? So like, we hear that a lot where people just, I want to go to a Top Fuel Team and I should be running it in 2 years. It's like, no, you should be lucky to be allowed to touch the wing in 2 years,
And you think about the Tony Stewarts and Jeff Gordons and the other guys that are in that realm. All the nights that when Tony was a kid and he was riding in the back of a rusted out Toyota pickup on a mattress because he just got out of school, but he's got to race go-kart in the morning and the whole back of the truck's soaked, but he's going through the night in there. And at the same time, his dad is staying up all night after working all day and he's getting him to that race. So, I mean, once again, want and need. There's those that want and there's those that need.
I like it.
Kurt, talk about Total Venue Concepts. Where are you at as a company? You know, are you peaked? Are you thriving? Are you going to 10x this thing? Like, where are you at financially, and where are you going to take this thing?
I think we are about as far as we can go in drag racing. And I think there's still more in circle track, quite a bit more. I think there's a lot more in chemicals. Equipment, I've sold like 3,700 pieces of equipment. It is slowing down. I don't know how, I mean, our stuff doesn't break. I kind of screwed up when we built the stuff. I should have made it so it broke more, but it doesn't. So I think we have peaked when it comes to equipment. I think we still have a lot of education we can do, which means actually going to the track, prepping tracks. I think we'll continue doing that quite a bit. I branched out a lot more into the concrete side. My background from early on is concrete. And I've learned asphalt because I had to, because asphalt's a big part of it. But we're branching out a lot more into warehousing and shops. We have millions of dollars worth of equipment that sits 8 months out of the year. So I hired some guys that know how to do flooring. I know it sounds boring, but we're hitting the flooring market really, really hard. And we've built a new machine. There's only a couple in the world, but it can correct super flat floors, and we don't want to really bore people with that, but super flat is so important in the warehousing world because you're going up 110 feet to do a robotic pick, and if you're off of a quarter of a degree down here, that's 3 inches up there. So they need to keep these floors perfectly flat, and we've come up with a machine that they don't have to move the aisles or anything. We can go down through it, it uses LiDAR, and we can completely correct the floor. And that side of the business is taken off. I think that's going to dwarf the drag racing side and the motorsports side. But there's a good side to that because that will finance me to do more over in the, I'm not leaving motorsports, but I can use the other business to help support this more and do more R&D because R&D is expensive.
Every time you say something is boring, it turns out to be the coolest thing. I'm like, no, I want to learn way more about super flat floors. I didn't even know there was a thing 10 seconds ago, and now I want to know everything about them. So
I so geek out over that stuff. It's quite a world, and the more we learn about it, the more my entrepreneur side and inventive side just wants to build more and more stuff. That's if I could sit and just draw and build machines all day and make sure they work, do the R&D side of it, I'd be happy. But you can't pay the bills that way.
I'm already thinking about the marketing campaign. Is your floor flat or is it super flat?
it's probably just flat.
It's probably just flat.
Seems like it's really dangerous, honestly.
Fix it.
Yeah. I mean, I do love that this is a theme in motorsports in general. Like, everyone thinks motorsports is just motorsports, it's racers, it's doing whatever. And then it's like, oh no, you can apply it to so many other things that are like no one else can think of, and no one else has the work ethic to go figure out, right? And that's just a little offshoot business, which I agree with you, in 10 years is going to be 50 times as big as the other side, right? And then it's going to be like, how do you get a helicopter? Was that all, that's all track prep? And it's like, no, but you learned it.
Yeah.
At the racetrack, you know?
It's incredibly scalable over on that side. The drag racing market, I mean, for what we do, we're pretty big. I mean, there's times I use all contractors, but we're up to 70 people at some events. And then I've partnered with, I think that's the best way to put it, partnered with FM3 and Raleigh Miller, because he has a whole nother group of people. So I've built fire trucks and other stuff to support them. So the fire trucks come from us, the safety personnel come from FM3, and it's a great partnership. And the same way we can support FM3 at all these different events with track prep, and they are a great event management team, which is, I am really not a great event manager. I'm a good coach, but I'm not a great manager because it's just not where my passion is.
we were talking earlier about your business development and kind of where you're headed, and we've been bringing AI into this market and kind of sharing how we're going down this path. You want to talk about how you're using artificial intelligence to make your company better?
Yeah, I use it quite a bit. I do a lot of complicated trigonometry, and I use AI for the trig side of it. There's a downside. I am dumbing myself down quite a bit. I've felt it happen. Like when I actually have to scratch out a problem on paper, where it used to be easy, and it's not so easy anymore, because I'm letting AI do it all the time, and because it can do it in a fraction of the time I can, which makes me more profitable and productive in the long run. And then obviously you always have to check AI's work still, I've found, especially in mathematics, because it messes up quite a bit, and luckily it can correct it just as quick as long as you catch the mistake. But so I use it quite a bit in math. I use it in site plans for grading and figuring out grades and elevations. I write a lot of white papers with it, and because we do quite a bit of white paper type work, and I've found it's awesome for that. Same thing, got to really check it because it does make mistakes. But I hate to admit it, but it's one of the best things that's happened. I truly believe it's the end of man too. At some point, it's going to realize we're just bacteria and get rid of us. But let's ride that train while it's there, because it does make a huge difference.
I agree with all of that. It will be the downfall of mankind, but in the meantime, you should get rich using it. I think that's where I'm at too. But it's true, there's a cost to offloading any task to anything. And, we talk about AI a lot, and it's like, yes, it does write really well, and it is really good at writing white papers. But the next time you don't have internet access and you have to write the white paper, it is harder than before you started using it, for sure. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I mean, obviously, with you guys, there's probably autonomous things that could happen in the future, right? There's all kinds of tech, LiDAR, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you got to stay on the cutting edge there, too.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we have been working on some autonomous stuff for the drag strips. I mean, because the technology's there, it's easy. That's probably all I should say about that. But we are working on some stuff with that.
Wait a minute, we can't let them off. So I know there's farmers that use AI-driven tractors to plow their fields, right, Justin? You've seen that.
Well, yeah, there's autonomous drones for mapping things, so I could see how this goes together. I'm going to help him here.
We should.
I'm going to.
Why we're here.
I'm going to pivot for him.
All right.
Why hasn't someone made a covered drag strip yet?
Great question. And it's expense. That's what it comes down to. Bill Bader put a lot of effort into covering Norwalk, because that's one of our huge downfalls is the rain. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was as much as this upgrade. So it was in that $5 to $7 million range to cover that thing. And then you still have problems. You're bringing wet cars in, and we all know what wet cars do when they go down the drag strip. It comes out of everywhere. And I've had people during bar conversations, so forth, we could use jet dryers to blow the car. You could, but it's not really feasible. But somebody needs to take, the Ford plant, I think they tore it down finally over in Lorain, Ohio. You could have easily drag raced in that place. Easily. Even the layout on the floor and stuff, it wouldn't have taken much. But I can't believe nobody's, and I'm sure there's other manufacturing I don't know of that are in huge buildings like that that's abandoned, but I walked through that one in Lorain, and it easily could have been a drag strip.
There's just the one picture of that 60s indoor drag strip in Chicago that everyone knows about. And there's one photographic evidence. That's all I want. I just want someone, just one time, indoor drag race. I think it'd be awesome.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. You don't have to deal with weather anymore. You do have other problems, obviously, but yeah.
If it's a big enough building. And you put the cars inside too. And there are big buildings out there that are abandoned right now. I don't think it's as far-fetched as you said. In a more realistic side, I think instead of covering the drag strip, we need to come up with a good system to put a shutter across it, kind of like a baseball field. And I think that's very doable. And there's coatings that we can put on it, because one of the downfalls right now is if it touches and stays on the drag strip, the coating, the canvas type material, it's going to stick to the drag strip, but we could easily coat that now. And I think we could do something like that for in the 100,000 range. And I think there's actually 3 drag strips kind of looking at doing it right now.
I've always imagined, I mean, you have walls, so I've always imagined like a giant tarp, like a tonneau cover essentially. It's just, whoop, yeah, over the whole track, it's raining, whatever, come back in an hour and then open it back up. And at least you're starting from 99% dry at that point.
A little bit of a fall to it so the water runs one direction. It's doable. It's just money. But I don't really think it's as expensive as people think it is. And there again, I see you're actually giving me ideas why we're doing it. Why aren't we going to, somebody should go to one of these companies that literally makes window shades, or who makes that cover for a bait. I don't know that anybody's actually gone to those people and said, how do we do this? So I got something to do next week.
Real Truck, hit us up. Some tonneau cover manufacturer or something, or whoever makes every blue tarp I've ever seen in my entire life. That's got to be one person. This would be awesome.
It does have to be spring loaded up so we can get rid of it pretty quick. But I really don't think it's that far out of when you look at the amount of money that's lost on a big production facility. I mean, you think about Norwalk, Night Under Fire, when it rains, that's a $1 million hit.
Yeah.
I
think we solved drag racing, is how I feel.
We helped them, I think.
Okay. I was going to give us all credit, but that's fine.
It's a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
All right.
I think I want to know, where Kurt's headed, right? And then for people that want to get a hold of him, where's the best way to get a hold of you and talk to you about what their needs are?
Just Kay Johnson at Total Venue Concepts. That's probably the best way to reach out to me. I don't want to sound like I think we're peaked and we're going down. We're busy all the time right now still. And I think 3 years out looks still pretty good. But we got to start shaking those eggs in other places. That's got to happen.
I got one more. We saw the rise of F1 through Drive to Survive. Did that impact drag racing? And if not, do you ever see anything else culturally that impacts drag racing and lift the entire sport?
No Prep Kings, definitely. And I mean the decade of the reality show definitely helped drag racing. I gotta admit, when it first started, I didn't like it. I'm like, these aren't the fans we've always had. Yeah, maybe they're not, but they're fans. And a lot of them are hardcore converted fans now. So somehow we need to get that reality aspect back in. I don't know who that's going to be or where it is, but drag racing has to be relatable. When it was huge, it wasn't about the drivers. It was about the cars. And I said that really wrong. It was about the drivers. And the cars had names, and they were bigger than life. We've lost a lot of that with the corporate side, and I understand we've got to have the corporate side because we've got to have the money, but we've got to bring entertainment back into this. It's entertainment in the end. You look at the amount of people that go to a national event or a large capacity drag race, and the hardcore group is such a little piece compared to the overall picture. And they're there just to be entertained. They want to see fast cars. They want to hear arguments. They want to see cars running on the edge because of the danger. That's part of it. Obviously, we don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, but racing is about being on the edge, and that's really the part that attracts people to it. It's not who gets there first necessarily. It's that two cars are going down the track on the edge, and hopefully you're on the edge of your seat watching it. That's what we need more of. And the whole no prep world on TV, brought that to the average person. And they definitely went to the drag strip. So I think that's probably the biggest thing in the last decade that's helped racing.
I'm guilty of this. I think I've ranted about this before, but if you like drag racing and something comes out about drag racing, you should try to support it. And we're our own worst enemy, where it's like, oh, that's fake, that's not real. Yeah, no shit. Okay? But it's good for the sport. And like, even F1, I heard a lot of people saying, well, I didn't really like, they didn't really. It doesn't matter. Your wife likes F1 now. That means you get to go to more F1 racing, which means you get to build more race car stuff. Like, it's just good. And I think overall, support for anything. Drag racers go to circle track races. Circle track guys come to drag races. All of you go watch Formula One movies, right? Like, it's all good. And instead of tearing down, oh, I only like this little fiefdom of class, it's like, let's all just work together, right?
That's such a big piece of it. The no matter what, if you look at this from the aftermarket side, it doesn't matter what kind of racing it is, as long as performance happens. And somebody comes up with a piece to sell a part for whatever it is, it'll all keep moving forward. And no matter what, just because of the nature of humans, we're going to go faster and faster and faster. But we've really got to get that personal side tied in. I think, and I'm just going to use drag racing and circle track. I think the amount that they've calmed the personalities down has made it just boring as can be. There are, even in drag racing, there are multiple drivers that really don't like each other. But when you get to the end, you know, I'm just glad he's safe. When in reality, we want to see, no, I want to rip his throat out. I want to win. We need to see more of that, I think. And I'm not saying turn it into WWF, but let more of that personality out, and I think the viewership will increase.
You don't have to fake the drama at a drag strip. We all know it's there. It sucks that it has been artificially restricted, and it's like, just it doesn't have to be fake. Just let it play out, and you'll get exactly what people want out of it, right?
Yep. Doesn't mean they got to be fisticuffs, but let them speak freely.
Awesome. Great to get some time with you, Kurt Johnson. I know you got to go turn a street in Pontiac, Michigan into a drag strip. We want to say thank you for doing that work, and we wish you the best on everything you got going on. Thanks for coming on the Automotive Advantage.
Thanks for having us. And I look forward to working more with you guys. And this is going to be such a fun race because we're on the fast end of the strip. And we did this 2 years ago, and we actually had to dumb the track down because we were going too fast, in my opinion. We had to pull it back because we don't need cars going 390s out here, and that road will take it.
We do need cars going 390s. That's the pod.
Thanks, bud.